Welcome to Cooperville.
Do you know what's fun to do in Cooperville? Pack up your shit and get the fuck out!
Listen. www.welcometocooperville.com. Who the fuck says www anymore? I can't even say it. www. Stop that. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast. On demand anywhere quality podcasts are available. And some places where cheap podcasts are available.
At the local gas station has some.
Subscribe, get updates, feel better about your life. Welcome to Cooperville.com.
Check.
Welcome to Cooperville! Make sure you use a coaster. The wife gets upset when we leave rings on the tables.
So how long have we known each other, Neal? We've been, let's see, I think you guys were out on tour right after Cry Sister hit the charts. Yep. And that's when it was the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
Beautiful relationship.
How long ago was that? Shit, man, that's been...
I want to say it was like 7 years, but does that seem right?
It's been a minute.
6-7 years, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy how time flies.
Time flies. Neal Middleton, Royal Bliss on the podcast. Thank you so much, man, for taking some time out and jumping on the FaceTime and joining the show, the program.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
How have things been, man? It's been a while since you and I have gotten into trouble together.
Yeah, I know. I think last time we were up there was some crazy storm was going on, and we were in a parking lot, and trees were falling down, and it was nuts. But yeah, things are good, man. We worked on a new record, and it turned out amazing. We're super happy about it. We got a new song at radio right now called Pain, and it's just climbing, and it's crazy. You know, we've been at it a long time, and to still have success and still be able to grow a fan base has been phenomenal.
And I see you taking up boxing. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I did. So I started boxing training for another song that didn't even make the record because we were going to shoot a music video. Mm-hmm. So I was like, we'll do some training, and then we can totally film this like Rocky scene where I'm fighting this guy or whatever. And then Taylor ended up getting his girlfriend pregnant, and so we were going to be home for 3 months, and it turned out that this gym I was working at was doing a big fight called Executive Fight Night. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what, I'll actually do a real fight and be kind of fun. Plus it'll push me, you know, to work out a little bit harder and actually take it serious because I don't want to lose, for one.
I don't need that kind of press.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, and with Pain, I'm like, it's just fitting that we do the music video for that song. So it was a really cool ride. It was definitely, all around good, like mentally, physically. I was working out a bunch, and it still proved to me that I can accomplish things if I put my head to it. Right. So it was good. It was good all the way around, and I knocked the guy out in the second round, and so that was good too. Because I was just like, oh my gosh, we're shooting this whole music video. It'll be a total waste if I lose, or if I get knocked out. This will be horrible. You won't be able to use any of this footage. So there's a lot of pressure, but it was cool. I'd recommend anybody getting in there and putting your neck out, literally. And it's a hell of an experience, an adrenaline rush. It's different than being on stage, but I loved it.
Is it something you're boxing? I was gonna say, is it something you're gonna keep on pursuing and just as part of your? Maybe not the fighting part of it, but boxing training is like a ridiculous, regiment to be
definitely
a part of.
Doing that. Like I'll leave when we're done with the interview. I'll head back to the gym. That's what's going to be tough on the road. It's hard to find boxing gyms around that you can do the like full on training with bags and mitts and stuff like that. But I'm looking up different places around, anyways. And I don't know. I might do another fight. I'm not against that. But it does sound good to retire like 1-0, undefeated.
I was just gonna say,
only winning by knockouts.
I saw my card here, but it's pretty impressive. You don't want to mess with any of this. No, that's cool, man. I want to kind of take you back into to getting influenced by music at a young age? Obviously, like you said, you've been, with the Royal Bliss thing, doing that for a while, doing some solo stuff before that. Was there when you were growing up, were you a part of a musical family? Was there influence? Was it direct influence, or was it something that came from something you heard on the radio, or what was the gateway drug for you into the industry?
Well, I always loved singing. My family wasn't a big musical family.
Right.
We all took piano lessons when we were younger. Just me and my brother. I only have one sibling.
Mm.
My mom liked to sing, but never really did any singing professionally or anything like that, or in a band or anything.
Right.
My dad had a decent voice too, but he didn't. It was very seldom that you get to hear him singing. But I always loved the Disney movies, and I loved to sing as a little kid. It felt, I don't know, it was just fun. But then we moved from St. Louis to Salt Lake City, and it really became a release for me because I was not a part of the majority of this town, which, a lot of people probably know that the religion plays a huge part in Utah, and I was not a part of the dominant religion here. And so it was really difficult. I picked up my mom's old acoustic guitar. She had an acoustic guitar. She was learning how to play whenever she was pregnant with me. And then she kind of put it up, and then I pulled it out when I was 12, 13. And I was going to church at night. And that was the first place I ever played with a band. I'd play at evening service.
Yeah.
I'd get up there, and I took a few lessons from a lady there at the church, and then I'd sit there and I'd get up there and play as a 13, 14-year-old with the church band, which was pretty cool. And then it became a outlet as a songwriter. Instead of beating up the local kids, I would be nice to them, and I'd come home and sing all this angry stuff, just vent all my frustrations through music.
Right.
So I'd sit down in my basement and just pluck away and just sing. And that's how I write songs still to this day is, whatever's in my head, I just kind of let it out and press record and hope that, we capture it. But yeah, back then it was my therapy, and it's still my therapy. So it really pulled me through some hard times as a young person, I guess, where anytime I was frustrated or feeling dark, I would, get it out through playing my guitar and singing.
It's got to be kind of I'm going to say a come full circle, scenario now for you when you have songs that are out there, and obviously the Royal Bliss fan base is far and wide, and but now the songs that you're writing and putting out there, I know for you as a youth, you were using music as a way to, release that, that tension in your life and get some stress out, and get you through some dark times. Where now, some of the songs that you've put out for your fans to listen to, it's doing the same thing for them. That's got to be kind of a cool full circle scenario that you get to, hang your hat on.
It's definitely a give and take. Some of the stories I hear from people where, they relate to our music, they relate to the lyrics or a song changed their life. I had a lady come up to me the other day, and she was in tears and gave me a hug, and she's like, "You saved my life. Your song, your music prevented me from killing myself." She's like, "I wouldn't get out of bed. I was bedridden and depressed and wouldn't move or wouldn't do anything, and I was just ready to die." And I guess her daughter brought a Royal Bliss CD to her, and she started playing that CD, and she's like, the music just moved me in such a way that I decided not to give up anymore. And she was just bawling. And I've had that happen, quite a few times. And, whether it's a song about love or, I got married to crazy. This was our first wedding song, or this was a song that, kept me from doing drugs, got me sober, or whatever, all these just amazing stories. And you can feel it at a lot of the shows too, when you look out there, especially when you have that, when I'm needing to get it off my chest and putting it out there hard, and you look out there and there's people with tears in their eyes, or there's people just with huge smiles, and this energy in the room is absolutely amazing. And it's addictive. I mean, that's what keeps us going, keeps me writing music, because it means something to people. And I think that's the biggest thing, is the personal attachment I have to the lyrics and the songs, and for people to reciprocate that kind of vibe and that feeling back to me, it's needed. And I think a lot of bands out there don't. I mean, so many bands and so many people out there just want to play music to either be a rock star or think they're going to make money. And,
and he
us,
says with a smirk.
Yeah, right. And for us, and I tell kids that are coming up in the industry, it's like, you have to love this more than anything. You have to love being on stage and writing music more than anything, because all the other work that has to go into it to make it possible for you to get on that stage and do what you love is a pain in the ass, and it's something that you won't love. Well, some people might, but you gotta pour your heart and soul into that music in order to survive, is what I feel. And so it's neat to, hear those stories and people be like, you chose the right path. Sure, we're not millionaires. Like, of course you think that when you're growing up, like, right, I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to live on the beach and have a Ferrari and blah, blah, blah. But then it really became something more of, this is what I was meant to do.
Right.
So I chose the right path. Personally, I think, and everybody in the band too, we've been doing this a long time, and we can't see ourselves doing anything else.
Yeah. I mean, when you can find that purpose, you find that meaning to your life, money's great. I mean, nobody's going to deny the fact that things can be easier when there's some financial stability back there. But when you get to go out and do something you love doing, and it can have that profound effect on other people, so it's obviously an influential position to be in, that at times, I think, with balance, can be as fulfilling or more fulfilling than having that lucrative aspect of it coming in. And I think when you incorporate, as long as you've been doing this, and seeing all sides of the industry, the music industry, life on the road, getting music out, obviously all those avenues have changed, and they've moved in different directions. But before we started this, I got to see you say, send your boy off to school there. How important is balance when you talk about music as a life? When you have a song like Pain that's coming up, or songs you've had in the past where you get that song starts getting traction, and the demand for you to be out in front of people obviously increases. How important to you personally as an artist is that balance of life on the road and then life at home?
I mean, it's incredibly important, and communication is incredibly important as well. I was with my youngest yesterday, running around, did a Costco run with him, and
good times.
And he was talking about, because I was just gone over the weekend, went and saw my mom for Mother's Day, and he was like, "You were gone forever," and he's like, "But I know you're leaving again soon," and we ran into a friend at the Costco, and she brought up something, and he just was like, he's leaving for 2 months. It's the longest he's ever been away, and you could see the effect it had on him.
Right.
Like, while he's telling the stranger about his daddy leaving. And it's hard, but I've always been, I communicate to him this is what I do for a living. This is how we, keep the roof over our heads. Right. It's just work. And I gotta go. And that's just a part of it. And my oldest understood that, because he understands that. He knows that I'm gone. When he was younger, I was gone a lot more than I have been for my youngest. Mm-hmm. So it's been harder for my youngest to leave. But you just got to make sure that the time that you're at home is quality time, that you FaceTime is a wonderful thing, because you actually get to see their faces, which is also torture, because you want to give them a hug. But at least you get to see them and communicate with them. I don't know how they did it back in the day. But yeah, and when we come home, we'll leave here, go be gone for 2 or 3 weeks, and then come home, and then we go on a vacation for a week. And this second I get home, I leave again for another 2 or 3 weeks. But hopefully, the vacation is we're with each other the entire time. So at least we'll get as much of that quality time as we can. And it's good to have, my wife's extremely strong and understanding, and has been there since day one. We're going on 14 years, and she holds down the fort and understands, as long as we're doing the right things out on the road, and she's not seeing pictures of me hammered drunk and doing dumb stuff, which, that's not easy.
I hear you, man.
Then she's supportive. She's like, you're out there working, you're doing a good job, and she gets it, and she holds down the fort, and she, expresses to the kids, or, keeps that communication open. Like, if there's something major that happens, then I got to come home. But, yeah, it's a hard juggling match in your head personally, as a man, as a husband, and as a father. to be like, all right, am I doing the right thing? But I also want to teach my kids that they can follow their dreams. And if you work extremely hard, you can attain whatever. And you got to be happy doing whatever you're doing. I can't imagine me being happy if I was at home or at a desk job or doing something else. You know, it probably would be worse on my kids because dad wouldn't be happy.
Right.
So whenever they do get quality time with me, I'm in a good mood.
Yeah. And I think I think you hit the nail on the head right there with that one, because it is, you want to show them, and when you are a father, and you don't want to let your own personal limitations, or, you know, it would be easier on them if you were doing an 8 to 5 and you were home every day and you had the typical family. We get up and we send them off to school, and I go to work, and then I come home, and, you know, because that almost sets, I think, at a very young age, this precedent of, okay, this is the definition of what life has to be. It has this structure, and a lot of times those people who are in that structure, they're not happy because they're not doing what, you know, at a very young age, like you mentioned, you found, okay, this is my purpose in life. I'm going to go and do this. And you want to have that kind of mentality instilled in your children as they grow up, and they're not confined by the structure of, okay, I have to get good grades in school, and then I have to go to college, and after my college, for the next 15 years, I'll be paying off my student loans, and then I'm going to get this great job. And it may not be in a field that they particularly enjoy, but because they grew up watching the structure. So I think it's, and we've tried to do that with ours too, is, you know, you have to find that time. You mentioned vacations, you know, doing family stuff, being interactive with one another. But when it's, you know, time to pursue something, you know, go and do it. You know, don't let other people or opinions or, well, this is the way it's been, you know, hold you back from doing it. I played sports when I was younger. I excelled because you can see by this physique and all the scholarship offers that came in. I did radio for 20 years. But, you know, so I wanted him, I think, for the concept of team and kind of understanding that structure. I didn't push him into, you know, playing football, but it was like, let's just try it out, and realize really a very short period of time into the first practice that this may not be something that at this point of his life he's into. Like, ooh, I can also chew on grass while I'm here. Like, yeah, well, you know, but he's found avenues, I think, in different fields, in different things that he's been gravitated towards, technology and math and sciences and all these things that I'm like, you know, dude, be you. And I think he sees, you know, me not falling after I fell off the cliff of losing my career, and just being able to go and do it and be present. So I think that's, you know, that fatherhood is it's a very different, I think, than when I was growing up, you know, because I saw the structure and I was like, oh, this this seems miserable, but I guess this is how it is. But I think having that balance, I think, and you've proven it over the years, obviously, is important to not only your success, I think, at home, but also on the road, because, you know, you have that strong unit, you know, back at home waiting for when you get back.
Yeah, it's definitely important. You know, I don't know that I could do it without that. So it's a team effort, and to have the band understand that too. You know, we all have different lives, you know, and Taylor just had his first baby, and it's going to be tough on him. He's never been on the road away from a child.
I thought he looked a little big in the midsection, so he must have been carrying high.
Yeah, he was carrying high. Yeah. A lot of people just thought it was beer, but nope, it was a baby.
It was a baby girl in there. Yeah, breaking news. That's good. But I think it'd be good for him, I think, to not only because you guys have been, you know, in a partnership, you know, in that band for such a long time, and he kind of has seen how you've been able to manage that. And obviously, you'll have plenty of advice to pass along, having gone through it more than once.
Funny.
But you want him to not miss the fun stuff like diaper changing and all the, you know, the good times and the up all nights. You know, you gotta have him savor some of those moments.
Yeah, he's gotta. I mean, because me and Jake have had kids for a while, and, you know, so he's just barely going through the stuff that we went through that he had no idea, or didn't even understand, or couldn't even comprehend. And so now it's kind of funny to watch that go down. Be like, hey guys, I gotta go, or I can't do practice. I got this, and it's just like, all right, because he used to be like, come on. It's like you'll understand one day, young one.
One day you'll get it. You'll understand.
Get it. And now he gets it. It's going to be tough on the road, you know. I can see it coming. It's going to be hard for him, but we'll be there to support each other.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned the new technologies that are out there too, the ways of, it's not perfect, but when you can FaceTime and you can kind of still interact and watch them do stuff, it's, technology's brought us to an amazing way of communication. And on that same note of technology, having been kind of seeing a lot of different aspects of the music industry, and knowing how you guys are as far as the social media aspect goes of it, what is your take on, the state of the music industry right now from the Royal Bliss perspective?
Cal, it's become such a corporation, the industry itself, where, if whoever has the money is the one that can get up in the top 10,
right,
and get, the most exposure and get on certain festivals and get on tours. I mean, that's just what it's come down to. People buy their way to everything. And, that's the same thing with labels. You don't really need a label nowadays, but they still control so much of radio and Spotify and things like that. And so it's different, but there are a lot more avenues to reach people. So if you can still go do those grassroots kind of ways and you produce really good music, and focus on the songs, then people will find you. We're still able to do radio campaigns, and we do everything independently. We fund everything on our own, where, we don't have a big label bankroll that's doing everything for us. We've been through so many, we've been around 21 years. So we've seen, the introduction of Napster and Spotify and iTunes and like all the digital movement. And it was scary in the beginning because it's like, oh, we're not selling as many CDs. And so you just see that number go down. So you got to like, well, where are we going to pick up our money? And you're not making a lot of money off of Spotify or any of those other formats.
Right.
But you make a little bit. And now we make more money off of Spotify than we do off of iTunes and all that. So it's just, you got to adapt to where the industry is going, and it changes every like 2 weeks. It's really crazy. Yeah. But, like doing the blogs and the podcast, doing these, and just where you have to just put yourself out there wherever you can. And it's a lot of work, and it's really busy, where before it was just like you put a song out at radio and ta-da, there you are. And you can go do a tour. And nowadays it's reaching people and figuring out the algorithms and hiring companies to help you go to Spotify and put you on playlists, and publicists to put you in different, doing different interviews and things like that, and getting your videos in different places. And your videos are extremely important because so many people listen to music on YouTube that it's a format that you got to focus on. So you have to spread yourself evenly over all these different formats in order to get exposure to a point that you can, make a living. So yeah, it's just constantly evolving and trying to chase the right format that works for you. Like it's nuts. And that's why like I was saying earlier, like telling kids, you gotta learn the marketing, you gotta learn, accounting. And I mean, there's so many things you gotta work on and study. So I'll be like, go to college and get a marketing degree, get the communications and social media and all the different things that you gotta focus on, where we didn't have to do that back in the day. I remember when MySpace came out, and it was just like, oh, that was a huge thing. And then you got Facebook, and now you got, Instagram, and you got Twitter, and you got all these other different spaces that you have to have an equal presence on. And because you never know which group of people that like, a certain LinkedIn, LinkedIn will never be a place for us, but
I think I just sent you a LinkedIn connection, so we can, for the business,
connected, yeah.
We're connected now on LinkedIn.
But yeah, you don't see a lot of bands doing stuff on LinkedIn.
Right.
But I don't know. It's crazy. It's just evolving to stay relevant, and it's one of those things too, where you have to keep that presence up, where people are like, oh yeah, Royal Bliss is kicking ass. And I get messages like that because we're all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's like everywhere you look, and you have to be that, where, oh, Royal Bliss's new single came out, Pain, their new music video came out. And you have to make sure you're hitting up all these formats and then responding to people and following up on all the messages, because we're a small business, and you got to take care of those people that take care of you. So it's like every fan is important at this stage. And that's what a lot of bands don't understand. It's like, they feel like they're a musician and they're cooler than everybody else. But I think that's starting to change, where, people, you got to take care of your fans. You got to get online and respond to each and every individual message and say thank you for providing you a living and putting food in your kid's plate. But yeah, it's crazy to just change with the wave.
Yeah, and you know this because you've gone through things where you mentioned 2 weeks, and it does feel like every 2 weeks there's something new, there's another app, there's something else where, and a lot of them, they always try to, target demographic where these apps, who they're for. My kid who's 9 just got on TikTok, which is, I haven't quite conceptually figured it out yet, but it's it's basically a lip syncing app, so you can lip sync to like 15-second clips of songs or clips from movies and comedy routines and I don't know, weird stuff that he's into. So, but the target demographic on there is like the 12 to 18-year-olds. But then, and I think I was talking to Kyle Pfeiffer from Blacklight District about that the Old Town Road song that basically was broke on TikTok. 15 seconds of it became this huge TikTok thing, and now it's like the number 1 song on Billboard. And it's a weird thing, and I imagine from your perspective too. When I was in radio, I solely in the beginning in 1998 or whenever lived and breathed by the fact that if you got a song on the radio, that was a pretty big deal. I mean, that was like, man, these guys, this is like, and these guys are obviously going to make it. And from my chair in a studio, somebody has a song on the radio, you put like, the Motley Crue, facade on them, like, well, they're just living in, this lap of luxury. And, but I think over the years, getting a chance to see how, much of a struggle that it is, it's, I think, kind of a cool time to be in this industry because you do have so many ways to get your music out there. And if you're not, right away looking for that big paycheck, or that's the only reason that you're doing it, there are ways for bands in a small town or bands in a big city who can kind of get lost in the shuffle. Yep. And if they're putting out good music, as you mentioned earlier, that music can get heard. And if they're doing it right, and if they're, that can be time consuming. You can get lost down the rabbit hole of the YouTubes and the Twitters and the Instagrams of the world. But if you're doing it right and you're getting your message out there, there's a lot of potential. And I think the industry eventually will have to adjust to that and recognize, like, this isn't about necessarily having a song and paying money, as some bands perhaps do, to have that song go from not on the chart to 8 in 2 weeks. But all these other avenues are out there for artists, and you guys, I think, are a prime example of artists that have seen how it was and have still been able to find those avenues and get your music out to all your fan bases.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, it's hard work. That's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. And understanding that it doesn't matter if you're the greatest musician on the planet and you think your band is the best band out there, and you could be the best band in the world, and no one will ever hear you if you don't market it right and you don't work hard every day. So it's one of those things where you have to bust your ass, because there might be, some younger band out there doing all the right things and getting the exposure, and it's frustrating to see some of these groups that climb up, the charts or whatever, and you see them live and they're not even playing their instruments, and it's all backing tracks and crap like that, but they're in the top 10 and on tour with all these big bands. That's because they played the game right, or whoever's behind them is playing the game right to get them in those positions. And so it's like, all right, well, how are they playing the game? And you got to figure out different ways to be like, well, we have the music and we feel like we're a band that, we put on a good live show. We can play our instruments, and we can play an acoustic set and not be like, because we've been on the road with bands and seen bands that where it's just like, hey, do an acoustic set, and they're like, what?
I don't understand what you mean.
We can't do an acoustic set. No, we have to have our tracks or whatever.
I had the same thing in radio. We would have bands come in, and you guys did it a couple times, that come down like, hey, do like 3 or 4 acoustic jams. You got to have something that eventually when you started to write the song or put it together, you kind of had it outlined about how it would sound. And we've had bands that have said, well, we know we have one that we can do, and I'm like, well, you have an hour. So
yeah, right.
I hope you have the super extended version of this tune, because, but yeah, that always amazed me, that how if you are part of the process, if you're part of the songwriting process and writing the music and putting it together, from its raw form to its, final polished, that at some point the band can get together and say, hey, it'd be cool if we could do this one unplugged.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me.
It blows my mind. Yeah. And it usually relies on the singer a lot of the times where, so many singers rely on all the effects and everything else to sing for them. And and it frustrates me. I know there's different styles and everybody has their own technique, but I've always struggled with that where it's like, when you dedicate, just thousands of hours to practicing and working on your craft, which all of us have. And then you see people just up there cheating or lip syncing to their own music, to a backing track of themselves or something like that. And it's just like, oh God, man, this is frustrating. Because it's like I've worked my entire life. I have to take care of my voice and try to take care of my body so that I can get up there every night and sound good and be able. It feels so good to sing and feels so good to belt it out and get the lyrics out. It would drive me nuts. There's no way in hell I could lip sync to my own stuff or even sing to a backing track of my own stuff. I would never do that. I've been sick to the point where I can hardly talk and I still figure out how to sing those damn songs. But, and people are just like, you shouldn't be a hater. I'm just like, I'm so sick of that phrase. It's like, no, I'm frustrated with the fake bullshit that's out there in the world. Like all the fake bands that are just trying to come in here that have daddy's money and want to spend they could climb themselves up the chart in a fake ass way and put themselves on tour with whoever. And I've seen it happen time and time again. And those bands last like 2 years, but they take up that parking spot in the meantime for bands like us that have worked their asses off forever. And there's so many of us out there that do it for the right reasons. And whenever those bands, just because they have a bunch of money, take up the parking spots at radio or take up a room on a tour, and I know for a fact that in a year or two you'll never hear their name again. Right. Those are the frustrating times. And labels too, and people that take their money and do that to them. Those people in the industry, like, oh yeah, these kids got a bunch of money. Oh yeah, let's take all their money, and yeah, it's just frustrating.
Make them a big deal. Who out there, obviously besides you guys, because I'm 100% behind you. You guys have been doing it right for a long time and pounding it and putting the effort in and in the technology age, learning new ways to get out there and get in front of people. Who out there? Who else is doing it right? I mean, who are you liking right now?
Well, I'm really curious to see. I really want to see that the Glorious Sons. I want to see them live. I love their record, and what I've seen online from their videos and shows, that they just look awesome, and they look like they're having a good time and connecting with the audience. I think that band, Rival Sons, is another band that you can tell are doing it right. Of course, our boys Boba Flex, they've been doing it for years and years, and they stay true to themselves. There's another young band called Joyous Wolf. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's just a 3-piece, the 4-piece that gets up there and they just playing their instruments. There's no backing tracks behind them, and they just throw it down every night. I know there's a bunch out there, and a lot of these younger bands that are coming up, that's kind of what they're doing, and they're kind of the same way as me, where they're like, because I think people are sick of that same old sound that you can just tell is computerized. Yep. And I think that's one of the reasons that rock and roll has suffered over the past, 10 years, 15 years, because everybody started sounding that same way, and people were like, it all sounds like the same band, and there's really not a lot of soul behind the music or behind the songs. And so many bands were getting their songs written by other people, and it was almost like a country world, except for the songs weren't being hits and they weren't selling tickets. So it's like, I think that's coming back to, you have like the Greta Van Fleets of the world and the Joyous Wolf and Glorious Sons and bands with this young energy writing cool songs. Then people are starting to come back over to rock and roll and be like, oh, hey, there's something happening here. And, even with like our new record where it's almost got a grunge vibe to it that people have been mentioning. And I'm like, yeah, it's emotional songs and it's all us, which is cool. But Yeah, I'm stoked to see those bands that, you know, especially the younger ones that aren't listening to, you know, producers or whatever, be like, oh, just put them on auto tune or put them
Right.
on this, where they're practicing their instruments and realizing that playing music is a really good way to vent your teenage frustrations.
Yeah, and there was, you know, and all those bands that you mentioned, I think, you know, over the past couple of years, seeing them come up and that sound come up, kind of reintroduce itself into the market, you know, where it became, even from my old desk, you know, programming a radio station, you know, and I always came at it from a different mentality where I would, you know, I'm bringing Royal Bliss in and the Bobo Flex guys and Wayland and all these other bands that would come through and be a part of it. But the sound, it feels like rock and roll is back, and the stations, it can be textured, and I think playlists can be textured as well, where it doesn't all sound like the exact same band playing the exact same song with the exact same lyrics over and over and over again.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
And I just hope it takes off, because I mean, you see, like, it's, you know, the management companies and the labels still have control of a lot of it, and you still hear those same bands over and over and over again in the top 10 that have been there for 15 years. It's like, all right, time to move some of them out and let these young guys and give them an opportunity to shine. But, you know, that was what was cool to see, you know, Rival Sons up at number one and the Glorious Sons up at number one. It definitely showed me something where I'm like, yes, all right, I feel like there's a shift. If those bands can have the number one slot for a while, that's really good. And they, you know, take Disturbed out and take some of these bands that have been there for years and years. It's like, all right, we've heard Disturbed forever. Great band, but good God, you know, it's not much different than what they were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah, and it's tough to find one of those bigger bands that have been around for a while, have longevity, and have had kind of the same release an album, song goes number one, release another song goes number one. Nobody's ever really strayed from that path, because it's been, you know, whether because of money or you know, whatever, it's been a successful model. You know, I'm waiting to see that band that just pivots and does something else to see if they still have that same kind of success, you know, with a different sound. Maybe they, you know, go back to, you know, more of their roots, you know, when they first got into music. But, you know, it's tough, I think, when you're in that upper echelon of artists and maybe it's them, maybe it's the band itself, maybe it's labels, maybe it's, you know, the influencers. But, you know, if you've got something that's working and maybe you're not, maybe you've been in it for so long you don't want to make any changes to your, you know, the success you've had. But it would, I think it'd be cool to see a band come out that has maybe had one sound for most of their career, to come out and be like, no, you know, we're going to add this instrument in, or we're going to do something different. We're not going to utilize, you know, vocal backing tracks or anything like that. But, you know, again, if the mighty dollar is the one that's making the, you know, the rock world go round, it's tough to see that changing.
Yeah, me too. I'd love to see a band come out of it. And who did I hear the other day that was going to do something that was almost more Southern rock? I can't remember who it was mentioned in that. I don't know, but that'd be fun to.
I hope they do. You know,
I do. I mean, experiment with it. You know, and rock needs to open up to some other sounds. Like, that's the one thing where, you know, we dabbled in country a little bit, and with our, you know, kind of a Southern rock vibe that we did, and it was really interesting to see. You know, like, country music was open arms. They let us come in, and we weren't changing really who we were. We were a rock band. And, you know, they did a CMT world premiere, and we were able to play, you know, some of these festivals as us, and they're opening, like, letting the different sounds and different players, you know, you got Kid Rock doing stuff in that world, and who else just did something? And you got, you know, the Blackstone Cherry, giving those guys props down there. But rock is just like, sticks so hard to the metal side, and not be like, hey, well, let's bring in, that's what made me happy about Glorious Sons, because that song was kind of like, could be alternative. It's like, let's stop letting the alternative world steal all the good rock bands, and let's give them some love on rock radio. Let's give them some love in the rock world, because, you know, they just kind of shunned everybody out and made it be like this one sound. And I hope that it changes soon.
Yeah, I think the rock listener had been pigeonholed for a very long time is into you fit into one piece of the puzzle. You either are into the really heavy stuff, or you're into XYZ. But I think when you true rock fans or fans of music in general, will accept and will listen to anything that's good music.
Exactly.
This will be my third interview bringing this quote up, but rock and roll is not about a sound; it's about an attitude and a way of being. So I think if you're presenting that, and I think Glorious Sons is a great example. I've seen some of their live stuff, and rock and roll is supposed to be fun and energetic and kind of weird and awesome all at the same time. Yeah, and it's dirty and it's not polished. That's what made rock and roll great, and I think it's good to see that is getting the attention that it has deserved for so long, and I hope that trend does continue. As far as the music goes, especially when you have so many avenues to get it out to people's ears.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool, brother. Well, first and foremost, thank you for being a part of the show, man. It's
of course, man.
Great to get caught up, and beard game is still strong, I see.
Yeah, it's coming back. I had to shave it off for my fight, and I kept it off a little bit, and then, but yeah, I think I'm gonna grow it back. That's the goal. As long as I can try to keep this weight off. God, it's so hard.
Stay in the ring, man. Stay in the ring.
I know, that's the thing. And then I'm like, oh crap, we're going back on the road. My favorite thing is to eat and all these, great foods from around the country and none of them are healthy. It's not like, a town is famous for their salad. It's always like a deep fried bacon cheeseburger with pastrami and brisket on it or something. It's like, well, I got to try it. I can't get it back at home.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back to Chippewa Falls. They're really well known for their chef salad. It's the best.
Yeah.
And
vinaigrette dressing.
Oh man, I hear it's gluten free. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna live forever.
Yeah, Chippewa Falls. If you had Cobb salad, it would be covered in gravy and cheese curds. So they'd be like, all right, I'll try that salad. That sounds good.
As long as it's dipped in Leinenkugels, they don't give a shit. It's fine. Loud and proud. But no, I did tell my wife a couple weeks ago. It's not that I was barred from having a beard while I was in radio, but it just wasn't something I did. And then I got out and I was like, I think I'm gonna go beard game strong. And she kind of looked at me like I may have lost my shit. She's like, oh, is this like your midlife crisis? Like you're gonna go through a look change? And I was like, well, I got free time, so.
Go large, man. Go large.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much. The new song is awesome. Congratulations on your boxing record. I think you get that put on a T-shirt, man. Sell that shit at the shows.
Yeah, right.
Like Neal Middleton.
Put the
stats on the back. I'm telling you, man, it'll be a hit.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. Let's stay in touch. And next time you guys are up, let's get you into the Welcome to Cooperville studios down here, and we'll get on the hang, and we'll have some salads, and it'll be a fucking blast.
All right, brother. Thanks so much. Keep it up, man.
Thanks, brother. Take care, man. Appreciate it.
See you, bro.
Thanks, man.